Zahara, the rod of men, bearer of Ilios Adamos, and the one chosen by God to defeat the evil known as Thanatos. Hey guys, it's Jay, here with a specially requested video from the writer and illustrator of Ordeal itself, Brent. The purpose of this video is to provide a deeper look at who Shay is in the world of Ordeal, allowing those who know of him to get an explanation on things related to him, as well as an insight into the main character for those new to Ordeal itself. We will be looking at who Shay is as an individual, what his talent and arsenal consist of, as well as why he is in the story to begin with. Some of the later information in this video was clarified by Brent himself, so this can be one of the best sources of references for things regarding Shay. On a personal level, this video also serves as a correction to some of the points I made in my past Shay video, as a lot of the information in that video is outdated and has been expanded upon in the current season. This will also be the format for character explanations moving forward, so let me know if you like it this way, and if there's a category you think should be a part of it. Each section of the video will also be in chapters, so feel free to enjoy the parts of it in any order you desire. With that out of the way, if you enjoy the video, leave a like and share with others. Without further ado, on to the vid. Shay Hart was born in Trinidad and Tobago to May and Sabito Hart, very notable characters in the world of Ordeal. May had the Hand of Creation talent, which gave her the ability to grant a talent to a human or remove a talent from a Kimyo. Sabito was heir to the throne of the Hart clan, a clan known for their vast strength and protection of those who requested their aid. Shay was born with the Thanatos talent, a talent known for spreading death and destruction with every emergence of it. This caused the brother talent to it, Ilios, to awaken in the great Leo Thomas with the goal of ending a baby Shay and stopping future destruction at Thanatos' hands. However, May used her talent to remove the Thanatos talent from her newborn, now making him human, and though such an action is always fatal, Shay lived. And because of this, Ilios saw him as a child of promise, giving him the name of Shay, which means God will add, as a great power was taken from the newborn, but Ilios believed God would give him a new one. 13 years later, a now 12-year-old Shay was brought to the doorstep of Leo and his wife Elsa Thomas. They also brought a 9-month-old baby Yukiko, Shay's sister. The reason they were brought there is because Yall found out about May's very existence and wanted to use her talent for his own gain. So May and Sabito planned to go into hiding for some time, while leaving their children in the care of Leo. Shay's parents died soon after though, with Sabito's talent being transferred to Yukiko, and them now being left in Leo's care permanently. This resulted in Shay being raised and trained under Leo for the next 10 years of his life at the Red Ember Gym. During this time, he became close and formed a brotherly bond with Tevin Charles, Louis Hemlock, Azam Aziz, and Anton King, other members of the Red Ember Gym. Though Shay was still human, he learned martial arts, and his fighting prowess dubbed him the best fighter even amongst his Kimyo brothers. And as he got older, he competed in underground Kimyo fights for money, even though Leo had forbidden it. Soon after Shay's most recent underground fight, Leo dies, which leads Shay and others to a tournament held by Rokash Rampersad, as they believe he is the culprit. In that very tournament, in Shay's fight against Nanaku, it is revealed Leo transferred the Ilios talent to Shay upon his death, making him a Kimyo once more, but now wielding the Sunfire talent. These are the origins of Shay Hart, and very important occurrences in his life. There are a few things that make up Shay at his core, and those are his protective nature, his capacity to be emotionally reserved, his analytical abilities, and his prodigious nature. Shay's desire to protect others, specifically the people close to him, is seen as far back as the earlier parts of the series. In Season 1, after Leo explains some of his history with Rokash, Shay says he'd kick his ass if he ever came back to the gym again, and then tells Leo his students have his back. Shay also feels off about leaving Leo by himself, as Rokash had threatened him, and after Leo dies, expresses guilt over the fact he didn't stay by Leo's side. Essentially, Shay wanted to protect Leo from Rokash even though at the time he was still human, and did not have the power to do so. But even so, he regrets not staying by his side to be able to put himself in harm's way to keep his father figure safe. Later on in this same season, it is expressed that Shay was holding his own power back while fighting alongside his brothers, as he didn't want to burn them, which means Shay doesn't just want to protect others from outside sources, but from himself as well. This concept is taken further when considering Shay's blue flames. Flames he changed the nature of so they would not cause harm to the people he's trying to protect. We see this when Shay switches from orange to blue flames, with the heat from them having zero effect on the soldiers they or he is close to. Shay has also expressed during this season that the safety of his pack members means more to him than his very life. Bonnie, Bjorn's hand once asked Shay, "How long do you intend to hold your breath under this ocean of sorrow?" This relates directly to Shay's capacity to be emotionally reserved, as he places the burden of his responsibilities and sadness solely on himself, only letting even those close to him know how he feels deep down when it comes out in a burst of emotion. When Andrea first helps Shay enter Ilios state, after entering it, he cries from how much he misses Leo. He also notes that he doesn't deserve to call himself a Kimyo, and that he's not worthy of wielding the talent Leo once did. These are deep-rooted insecurities Shay has never expressed to anyone until this very moment. After Shay finds out about his origins, he's somewhat in an emotional daze. It is clear this truth wasn't expressed to the other members of the pack outside of Andrea, as later on, Tevin finds out about Shay's origins and has a facial expression that indicates he was unaware of this information. This means that Shay does not discuss with others how the truth of his origins affected him, and only shows signs of how he truly feels about it when he meets Ilios. Though Shay is reserved, but more deeply emotional than he lets on, he is also quite calculated, especially in terms of combat. In the first episode of the series, Shay fights a Kimyo named Quill, while he at the time was still human. He beats him in a short amount of time by figuring out he can't have his body spikes in two places at once, and employs multiple feints to capitalize on this weakness, showing his observational skills. An even greater example comes from season 3 and involves Shay, Andrea, and the Titans Jose and Leif. Shay planned for Andrea to use the weapon known as Norigiri, by putting her in a conflict that would force her to do so. He did this for two reasons. The first was to reinstill Andrea's confidence in herself and her abilities, and the second was to see what cursed chi was actually capable of, as he wanted Norigiri for himself. What makes this a grand example is that Shay specifically separated himself and Jose from Andrea and Leif, as doing so ensures she fights him. Shay also had engaged with Leif prior, so he more than likely understood his strength and could surmise at some point Andrea would summon Norigiri to defeat him. Shay also allowed Jose to trap him even though he could easily free himself, so that Andrea would have even more reason to push herself to aid him, which in turn will help achieve the two goals he has. Like his father, Shay is also a prodigy, and there are quite a few things that show this. At the start of the series, Shay was recognized as the best fighter among his brothers. During the talent showcase, he wields a Kansio in a Naginata style with great finesse and shows amazing precision. He was able to create a new and perfected technique, as well as achieve 100% use of Ilios in a month's time, things that would take months and years to actually do. At the end of his training with Bjorn, Shay picked up the skill known as the Chi Scent, and after 8 months of training, the skill has been expanded even further to the point he can detect Chi from miles away. Bjorn and Shay are the only known characters with this skill, and this is not something Bjorn taught him, but something he learned and cultivated himself. During his 8 months of training, he achieved mastery of Chi skills in the form of Chi Shrouding and Rock Armor, with Chi Shrouding having taken Leo Thomas years to perfect, and it being noted that Gaki class characters, high-tier individuals in the series, have mastered the Rock Armor technique. Outside of combat, Shay was also able to build a fully functioning, self-sustaining surveillance room in the desert from parts he requested. It should also be noted that Shay is a Christian and as such has studied the Bible. Since we know of Shay's origins and have taken a look at his character, let's also take a moment to acknowledge the other names Shay has or will go by, and look at what they represent. Shay is commonly referred to as the Ilios vessel, and this is because he possesses the Ilios talent. Sometimes if the talent the user possesses is old or famous enough, the user will be referred to as the talent themselves, and in Shay's case, the Ilios talent is one of the oldest and most known talents in the world. This moniker can show a lack of care for who Shay actually is, but can also be a way to show respect to the power he has. Since Shay is the son of Sabito, who was heir to the throne, this makes him a prince of the Heart Clan, and while their members are lower than they used to be, as well as scattered, his status along with his age allows Shay to be the rightful heir of the Heart Clan. Because of this, Shay was granted the title of Lord Heart by Aldridge Ross. The term Lord in Ordeal usually relates to members of the God tier, clan heads, or other strong individuals with leader roles in their group, such as Yall and Thanatos. Shay fits two of these three, as he is not only the closest thing to a clan head for the Hearts, but was the leader of a group called the First Table. Shay was also given the moniker the Rod of Men by a member of the God tier, Mikhail Oliveira. This relates to Shay's divine purpose, as he will be used by God as a means of correction, with that correction involving Thanatos himself. And lastly, Shay will eventually go by the name Ronin, and this was given to him by Junie Taylor, as she says this is what he will become. This is because Shay has abandoned the organization of code and walks his own path, now answering to himself and his own morals. Shay's most notable source of power comes from his use of the Ilios talent, which is an ancient elemental and state type that grants him the ability to create fire akin to that of the sun. Ilios is actually a living talent, as the consciousness that dwells within Shay was once alive himself. However, Ilios' origins don't just stem from being alive and wielding his own power, but from heaven itself, as Ilios' original name is Mahalalel, which means shining one of El, and he tells Shay where he comes from, his rank is Arch, as in Archangel. In terms of specifics, Ilios is a mental living talent, as he not only resides in Shay, but in a part of his mind as well. This allows Ilios to talk to Shay from his own mind, which is how he most often communicates with him, and if Shay chooses, he can go directly into Ilios' mindscape. Ilios can also appear to Shay in a mental image as well, making it seem as though he is physically standing next to his bearer. Ilios also has the ability to take over his bearer, as he did so with Leo Thomas before. However, he would not do this to Shay, as he mentioned how he will not hinder him. As I said before, Ilios gives Shay the ability to create and manipulate fire, as well as a passive heat resistance. This allows Shay to create blasts of flames of various sizes, or enhance his basic strikes with flames. Shay can also manipulate the flames he creates with better finesse, which he does through specific techniques. The first technique Shay made was Akantio, a flame sphere that he uses in a Naginata style for melee combat, and can easily be thrown with great precision. And with this technique, he can use another he developed known as Troch's Armaton, or Chariot Wheel. This is an enclosed ring of fire that surrounds Shay, in theory protecting him from all sides momentarily, and can be used as a way to gain space from said opponent when not used as a direct attack. He can also use this technique without a weapon, and this is done with a kicking motion instead. Shay later developed a technique he named Tomas. It was initially massive and comparable to a miniature sun with its own gravitational pull, and implied to be able to destroy a continent. With training, he would go on to compress this technique to the size of a golf ball for greater control, and this version can be flicked at his opponent. He can also form multiple of these at once, flicking whichever he chooses. This technique, when made bigger, can be connected to a chi rope, forming a new technique known as David's Sling, which actually combines another ability Ilios has, with that being giving Shay the knowledge of abilities from previous wielders of the Ilios talent. David's Sling comes from King David himself, and Shay mixes that with a bigger Tomas to form a now mace-like weapon, with notable reach. Shay also has the capacity to form Tomas's technique to whatever size he desires, as he made one nearly the size of the mountain he was standing on. It should also be noted that Tomas cannot be dodged, due to the gravity pulling effect it has. Shay can also fundamentally change how his fire works, and this occurs when they change from orange to blue. The blue fire was originally a boost to the wielder's flames and heat, making them hotter overall, and originated from Leo Thomas's desire to defeat Cain. However, Shay was able to change the properties of these flames, so they are no longer an amplification to his regular ones, but now give him fire that can be safely used around allies. The flames are in fact of the same heat level as his ordinary ones, but he can now actively choose what they cause harm to. Though this is not a technique, Shay was also given a shield by Ilios himself, which represents him having the heart of a protector. The shield is quite durable, and flames can be expelled from it. Now, these are all things Shay can do in his base form, but Shay can take the power of his talent further when he enters his state. Entering what is known as Ilios state grants Shay a massive buff to his physical stats. It also heals wounds he incurred before entering it, and now provides a passive healing factor while it is active. This also amplifies the heat and output of the flames drastically, with it being noted that while in his state, Shay had a level of heat that even Leo Thomas's own son did not recall. This was in Shay's war state, the highest state Ilios can achieve, and surpasses Shay's previous Ilios state combat mode. While these states are the same in functionality, war state comes from Shay being able to endure 100% use of the Ilios talent, meaning war state provides a larger amp than combat mode. As the last time Shay used combat mode, he wasn't even using half of his full potential, as at that point he hadn't grown strong enough to unlock more of Ilios' power. When Shay unveiled his state in Season 3, gold accompanied it, with it being known as Anointed War State, and this gold has a distinct meaning, which is a sign God has blessed the armor. This is a special occasion that occurs when God approves of the fight Shay is in. The second most important aspect of Shay's power is his body itself. Shay, being born as the Thanatos vessel, granted him a body that was supposed to house the strongest talent in existence. However, due to the talent extraction that was done on him when he was born, he no longer possesses that talent, but he does still possess the body. Shay's body is crucial, as with it fully trained, it can endure the full use of Ilios without any of his skin breaking off like it did originally. And this is a sign the heat from the Ilios talent is no longer causing damage to the user's own body. While being naturally very resilient, Shay's body also possesses its own passive chi, and this is because as the vessel for Thanatos, the body is connected to the ether, a vast, unending realm of chi and pure potential, in a space Kimyos are connected through. The chi of the ether is associated with the Thanatos talent, but Shay does not possess that talent, so he can only pour the chi from the ether into physical prowess, and this includes his use of the rock armor technique, a technique that pours chi into every inch of his body, hardening it and increasing his natural durability. Shay uses this technique with the chi of Ilios and the chi of his body at the same time. Though Shay cannot use the chi of his body to increase the strength of the Ilios talent, the vast and endless amount of chi his body has allows him to wield more talents than any other Kimyo would ever be able to. All Kimyos have what is known as a chi limit, a limit on how strong their talent can grow, and chi's purpose is to strengthen its talent. So the more chi a talent has, the stronger it is, and the closer to its limit it is if it has not reached it already, though reaching it is near impossible. Talents likely reside in a Kimyo's soul, as this is where chi flows from, so the chi limit is like a metaphysical space inside of the soul where a talent dwells. If a Kimyo's limit is large enough, their talent has space to grow. However, that space can also be filled by another talent, such as Andrea Thomas, who has the talent of weapon mastery and 5% of the Ilios talent within her as well. Shay's body having an endless amount of chi means he has no limit to the number of talents he can house and wield, and this is how he is able to wield Ilios, as well as the other talent weapons and objects he has. A Kimyo's chi limit can only hold so much chi, and when a Kimyo gains another talent, whether that be by transfer or through the possession of a talent weapon, that talent's chi becomes added to the overall Kimyo's chi. If a Kimyo has too many talents, or in other words, more chi than they can handle, they will likely die. But due to the vast space of the ether, this is of no consequence to Shay, leading to him being perfectly fine housing and wielding multiple talents. The chi of Shay's body still carries the signature of Thanatos, thus when Shay revealed it, all Kimyos felt it, due to their connection to the ether realm. It flowed through the void, touching every Kimyo on Earth, and those who know the signature assumed Shay was Thanatos himself. Shay likely knew this would occur, and thus learned the chi shrouding technique. The chi of Shay's body was dormant initially, and was being hidden behind the chi of Ilios, but Shay likely learned the ability to conceal his chi to further hide it. However, this could not last forever, so when he learned of a way to conceal all of his chi completely, he sought that for himself. This comes from the talent object known as the Elder's Mantle. This is a talent fabric that hides the wearer from all senses except sight. It conceals the sound of their footsteps as well as the entirety of their chi. With this, Shay cannot be sensed at all. The first talent weapon Shay actually acquired is the Norse talent weapon Vinter, the Hoarfrost Axe. This is an axe that produces such an excessive amount of frost that very few can use it. One of these individuals was Bjorn Grimson, a member of the God tier, and the wielder of the Berserker's immortal hide, and at the time of his use of it, there were two axes. Bjorn told one of the axes to stand by Shay's side until the day of his death, meaning this axe will be a part of Shay's arsenal forever. While the axe itself is immensely cold, the coldness from it can be produced as ice. This seems to show up in a few forms. While Bjorn wielded them, he could produce waves of ice, as well as protective pillars of ice. In Shay's case, he is seen freezing an object solid when the axe makes contact with it, or in extremely close quarters, form concussive blasts of ice. And they are both able to send out slashes of ice, with Bjorn's being shown to cut through Veil's blood tendrils, and Shay's being shown to cut through buildings. The second talent weapon Shay acquires was originally wielded by Andrea Thomas, and at the time was known as Norigiri. Norigiri is a cursed naginata that can enhance the talent of the person wielding it by 120 times. However, due to it being cursed, it possessed cursed chi, and this chi, while offering power, also consumes the chi and overtakes the mind of the one who wields it, making that person a host to the curse. Shay was able to break the curse Norigiri had. He did this by instilling in it its ordained purpose, which is to aid him him, as well as reminding it of its true name, and henceforth it would now be known as Zahara. Zahara is also a living talent like that of Ilios, who has historical connections to the fight between David and Goliath, with David being an original wielder of the Ilios talent, and Goliath being the one who wielded Zahara in her original form, which was that of an Egyptian Khopesh. Now Zahara has a few abilities. First, since her curse was broken, while she can still provide a boost to the talent of the Kimyo that wields her, she can no longer attempt to take them over. We even get an example of the boost when Shay uses Chariot Wheel, as the Ring of Fire is much larger than the one he does in base form. This leads into her second ability, as while you may think she can be forcefully wielded by anyone due to her no longer being cursed, she can actually choose who wields her and has the ability to transfer her talent to different weapons. The reason she stays in the Naginata is because she is choosing to stay with Shay. This leads into her third ability. She can hide inside the shadow of whoever wields her, doing so with both Shay and Andrea. While Zahara's ordained purpose is to aid Shay, the reason he desired her was so he can have a weapon that channeled 100% of Ilios' flames at their hottest, specifically in the form of a new attack. Attempting this with Vinter caused its original handle to break, but Zahara has more chi than Vinter, likely comparable to that of the Ilios talent. Shay flowing the flames of Ilios through Zahara allowed him to successfully perform the technique he was attempting during his training, with it being known as Ilios Sun through Moon, a technique that directs all of Ilios' flames in a single direction and can cut the moon in half. This technique's debut not only cost all of Ilios' chi, but the anointed war state form as well. There is one more thing that Shay will acquire, though it is not a weapon, but more so a talent object, and this is the Eye of Time. This is a talent originally wielded by Shay's grandfather Masato Heart, the unofficial rank 11 and hand of Leo Thomas. Masato is likely dead as a result of the Heart Clan massacre, so it is unknown when or how Shay will acquire such a powerful talent. Nevertheless, it is a power only a Heart can wield, and Shay has it by the time he is known as Ronin in the future. The full list of capabilities on what the Eye of Time can do is unknown, but there are a few things we know for certain. First, the talent's strength and presence seem to be imperceivable, as the rogue god tier Mato Hagen says this exact thing. Given its name, we know it has to be a warp-based talent that distorts time in some way, and we see part of this with the Koku Genma or Appointed Time Interval ability, where a green distorted time field is formed, and Mato is suddenly hit with a flurry of slashes, not knowing where they originated from. He also questioned if Masato altered time or his perception of it. So with this we can surmise the Eye of Time has the ability to set up an area that can either alter time as a whole or one's perception of it. The next ability, while still a theory, has a fair bit of merit to it, and was originally pointed out by CEO in the official Ordeal Discord. He believes the Eye of Time allows the user to sense time-related phenomena, such as future sight, and this comes from two future seeing abilities. The daughter of Greenland's Prime Minister has the ability to see people's paths and decisions. When she looks at Shay and Tevin, she sees a future version of them. Shay as Ronin here has the Eye of Time. In the following panel is a zoomed in image that focuses on Shay's face. This can give the impression that this version of Shay is perceiving the girl who is looking at him. Another example very similar to this occurs later on, where we the reader witness the Ronin version of Shay while he has the Eye of Time looking toward us. The following panel then shows his face zoomed in as if he is witnessing us perceive him. The last example comes from Kanehime, a Titan with a talent known as Foresight, which allows her to see both the immediate and distant future of whoever she makes eye contact with. When she makes eye contact with Shay, her talent activates itself, giving her a vision of a fiery landscape that the Ronin version of Shay is standing in. Kanehime is asking him questions and he looks back as if he can see and hear her. Later on, this same scene is brought back up, and it is revealed that Shay has the Eye of Time while this was occurring, and seemingly turns around to actually look at her. Those three examples are what push the notion that Shay with the Eye of Time can perceive individuals who are looking at him from the past, keeping in mind that that version of Shay at the bare minimum exists in the year 2027, and all of the examples come from the year 2020 and years prior. I asked Brent himself what Shay's purpose is in the story, or in other words, why he is in it to begin with, and this is what he had to say.
She's supposed to represent having to respond to your calling. So like he has a responsibility and a calling and he struggles to walk the path. So that's the gist of it. He has like a lot of weight on his shoulder. You know, you never ask for it, but you get it, so you have to do it. But it's up to you to do it or not, but you want to do it to the best of your ability. So that's really what she has to learn, is to how to walk this path that he has to walk. So it's more like responsibility and taking up the mantle and not rejecting your call kind of thing.
I feel it's best if we break this down into parts, starting with the first aspect Shay is meant to represent, with that being not rejecting responsibility. Shay initially learns of his path from Ilios himself, with him saying Shay is the one chosen to stop Thanatos. Before this was explicitly told to him, Shay questions why he was chosen. This is common in the Bible. People called by God who question or doubt his selection of them, and Shay's life up to this point has not been easy, so he wonders why someone like him is being chosen. Shay could have in turn rejected his responsibility as a vessel of Ilios and one chosen by God, feeling that he is too unworthy for such a task, yet he does not. This leads into the next aspect Shay is meant to represent, responding to your calling. Before Thanatos had actually emerged, Shay's initial acceptance of his calling led him to face Thanatos' right-hand man, Yall Vegizatha. Ilios, just before this fight, calls Shay a servant of the Lord, which means this is truly the beginning of Shay responding to his calling and accepting its responsibility. And in this fight, Shay is able to face Yall without fear or hesitation. However, this is only the beginning of Shay's walk, and he was not truly ready to face an evil of Yall's caliber. So he switches places with his master and goes to aid the soldiers sent by Code. Here, Shay gives them a speech which is meant to rally them and give them the will to continue fighting. He does so by telling them of the threat they face's continued existence and how its evil encroaches upon their peace. He then uses the same phrase on them that Ilios used on him. When Shay questioned why he was chosen, Ilios says, "If not you, then who?" And similarly, when Shay asks the soldiers how the threat of evil will end, he says, "If not by with us, then who?" He then continues with, "In order to grant our families endless days, God must slay our foes. I say to him, use me, for I will be your sword." This is not only an example of Shay responding to his calling through the act of encouraging the soldiers, but also the truest form of Shay accepting his calling. The last aspect Shay is meant to represent is learning to walk your path. Shay is not only meant to stop Thanatos, but as a successor of the Ilios talent, he will be seen as a symbol of hope the way Leo Thomas was, thus taking up the mantle as Brent mentioned. However, Shay is not Leo, and though others have walked the path Shay has been on as the Ilios vessel, it is still up to him to decide how he walks his path. Initially, this looked like doing whatever it takes to stop Thanatos and his forces, causing destruction in the wake of his attacks and killing those, even innocent, who are in the way of his vengeance. But after a lesson from the one above all, his approach will be different. Instead, he will seek out evil in those who have no hope of changing their ways, smiting them and ridding the earth of their very being. Through these actions, Shay reflects exactly how Brent sees him, and why his role in the story cannot easily be replaced. In the end, Shay Hart is the protagonist of the webtoon series known as Ordeal. The circumstances of his birth helped define the course of his life, leading him to be a child of promise. He will go by many names, all reflecting aspects of who he is. And who he is at his core will stay with him throughout the course of his life, being reflected in his very actions. Shay has powerful abilities from the Ilios talent, given to him by his surrogate father figure Leo Thomas, to his very body, a powerful vessel that can store numerous other talents. And Shay himself is a reflection of us responding to our callings, not running from our responsibilities and learning to walk our chosen path. I again want to give a special thanks to Brent himself for requesting I make this video, as this was something I planned to do when the season was over, but due to the collaboration with Street Fighter 6, I was honored to make it much sooner. It took me a bit of time since there was quite a bit of information I wanted to get right, and hopefully you all enjoyed the fruits of my labor. If you feel like I left out any important information or have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and use this video as a way to introduce others to the series of Ordeal. Don't forget to read the actual series for yourself, and be sure to like the episodes as well, and I will see y'all in the next one.